Hi there, and welcome to Alex. Hi there, and welcome to episode 6 of the ADHD Adults podcast. I'm James Brown, a lonely figure screaming for someone to save him from the hell I am today faced with, which first will be Dr. Alex Connor. Hi, Alex.
Hello, Michael.
Michael, I don't normally. Jesus, I don't normally. I'm not interested, obviously, but I don't normally ask for an explanation. But hello, Michael.
Yeah, because the night ride, isn't it? You're like
that was
because he was lonely.
Michael Knight.
Like,
He wasn't
that was
lonely. He had
Knight.
Kit. He had Kit.
A shadowy flight into the dangerous world of a man who does not exist. Remember, it was like lonely.
Yeah.
No,
Just
he
remember,
had Kit.
this bit normally lasts about 10 seconds, to be honest. We're a good almost minute into that. And the problem was, Alex, it didn't sound like Kit. It just sounded like you saying, hello, Michael. Anyway,
Oh yeah.
I'm also joined by newly half-formed, half-fledged ADHD adult, Mrs. ADHD. I voted against this. Just want to go on record. How are you, Sam?
I'm all right. That's what people say, isn't it? They say that.
No, they positively say I'm really
fine.
well, thanks.
Oh, really good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, most don't go.
I'm just in Alex's corridor.
Yeah, if you're watching on YouTube,
He's got a grand piano in his corridor. He's got a corridor in his house and a grand piano in it.
I've not been in Alex's corridor yet. Anyway, how are you? So Sam's all right.
Sorry, I'm always really slow with the dings.
I know, but you're the one that does them because you remember at least, which is amazing. Anyway, he says again with trepidation, "How are you, Al?"
Really well, thank you. Yeah, glad to speak to you both. We're back below the Logan now, so everything is well with the world. But it's because both of us are logically growing at a silly rate. We had our Spotify Christmas. Is it Unwrapped? I don't know.
Yeah, 2022 Unwrapped.
And there were thousands of people who have our podcast as one of their favorite podcasts. So if you want any evidence that ADHD brains are actually functionally different, I think that's it. One of them sent us a letter.
I mean, considering he's been asleep for 95% of the last week, I doubt it very much. But and I've been with him for pretty much the other 5%. But crack on, Al. What did he say? I'm sure it's a he.
Just going with it at this point. Did you say he? It's from Robert from Kidderminster. He says, "I heard your episode on justice sensitivity, and that explains why James used to wear that full judge's outfit to school on non-uniform day." He goes on to say it was particularly weird because he was homeschooled. Thanks, Robert. That's weird.
Yeah. That was got a long lead in for that punchline of that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You're getting overconfident with it. I know exactly. You're getting overconfident with these.
I just imagine whoever writes them just enjoys writing them. Yeah. I have had a real letter, or I'm just going to read out the last bit.
So just before you do all these people have your address in Broadmoor?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, it comes through 3. I don't know what that means. Right, the end of the. I'm not. I forgot to ask permission for this. So, we had a letter, and the end of it just said, "If I hadn't listened to your tips, I could have been waiting for ages for my diagnosis, only to find out that the process hadn't even been started. So just wanted to say thank you very much. Sorry for a long and probably boring letter," which wasn't boring, but it was too long to read out. Then it says, James, "P.S. Alex, you're my favourite."
So do you know how I knew that was coming, Alex? Because I fucking sent you that yesterday and said this fucking infuriates me in the message. So I've set that open goal up, really, haven't I?
Why does Alex choose what letters go on?
Because it's part of this. We'll check. We can change this because you need a role. Because other than that, you're just here to step on our jokes and ruin the flow. So we could. We could give. Was that just a flow? Oh fuck me.
It was.
We have a developmental meeting, Sam, after we're recording.
We have a brick in the garden, which I often joke if Sam ever misbehaves, I'm just going to use it on myself. I'm going to brick myself at some point because this is absolutely
brick myself
killing me. Alex, do you want to carry on with the bit you're meant to be doing now?
Please. Internationally, we've reached 136 countries, James, which means we're up by. I'm just going to check my maths on the calculator. One country from last week. I'm going to say the new country is Zambia, because I wanted to know where that was, and I wanted to know what language they speak. And I know that now, and the official language is English.
I think we've done Zambia before. I think you've done that joke before.
I think you probably have, yeah.
It's more than possible. In that case, possible.
You're such a dickhead.
I nearly did Zaire, and I realised it's not a country anymore, and I'm like a colonial racist. We are, of course, both bewildered and grateful to all our listeners. So this week, we'd like to say, all right, to our Zambian listener.
I'm just not even going to. From now on, we're just going to have a disclaimer at the start saying sorry for Alex. Anyway, as usual, this bottle of HP sauce, I don't fucking care. It's awful, and ketchup is better. Of a podcast is a tragedy in 3 parts. We choose a theme, and last week we spoke about ADHD and justice sensitivity. Thanks for Jack for pointing that out to us, because although we knew about it for years, didn't we, Al?
Yes.
Yeah, and this week we're talking about a pretty significant...
That's a really big one for me. Sorry. Not the week, is it, to talk about that?
Or the point for you to interject.
Oh, no.
And this week we're talking about a pretty significant issue for many people with ADHD, and that's being socially isolated or lonely. Thanks especially to Stephanie from Powys and Kyle off of Discord for asking for this subject.
I can't get over the HP sauce thing, James. Sorry. That's absolutely insane.
Should we just deal with this quickly? It's fucking awful. What does it improve? What does it improve?
Sausages.
No, red sauce does. Even barbecue sauce does.
Yeah, barbecue sauce is nice as well.
You just like it because it's got a picture. You just like it because it's got a picture of the Houses of Parliament on there, and that reminds you of Cromwell and things that happened in the 17th century.
It had no link to the Houses of Parliament. They just thought it would sell sauce. I love that history.
And it worked for you.
I don't care. Anyway, the 3 parts include the usual excruciating evidence-based psychoeducation, and this week about ADHD and loneliness, delivered by the Captain Golf Ball Face himself, Alex the Psychoeducation Monkey. Our personal reflections on loneliness and social isolation, which Mrs. ADHD, you've prepared extensively for, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's ADHD shaming on my part. Just
as usual, I haven't looked at the script or thought about the whatever it is we're doing this week.
Yeah, but as usual, I've just cemented the notion that I'm a monster by pointing that out. And then the third and final bit will be our top tip / spunk trumpeting on the subject. So, Alex, sometimes when I am with you, I genuinely wish I was alone, but that's just coincidental. Get cracking, bollock chops.
Thank you very much, James. I'm Sam. I know this sounds stupid, but being alone, loneliness, and social isolation are 3 different things, but of course they are related. So we can be alone quite happily, especially, James, for example, when you have to work with me instead, being alone is, positive. Loneliness is the feeling of being alone, though, or separated. And whereas social isolation is an actual objective lack of social contacts and having few or even no people that you interact with frequently. Not James has put regularly on this, but I mean. Here we go. I'm sorry. I'm going to stop you there, Al.
I was about to say I may have copied and pasted them somewhere, but I'm sure I didn't, because they would have got frequently or regularly correct. But your grammar Nazism again just forced its way into the podcast, isn't it?
Well, I think you mean syntax Nazism, not grammar. And if you were just had met one person every 7 years, that would be regular. So that's why it's frequently. I only do this to you.
I know. Well, of course you do. And look at the glee. If you're not watching on YouTube, please just occasionally, particularly those that think I'm the monster, that I'm the mean one, look at the glee on his face when he points out that I use literally or say rabbit ears or say regularly instead of freak. He fucking loves it. Carry on.
I do. So essentially, you can live on your own and not feel lonely or be socially isolated, but you can also feel lonely when you are actually with other people, James.
I'm normally there's kind of a bit in the script which will say James' response. I can't really make jokes about this. Again, it's a subject where it's hard to find humor in it, so just carry on and pretend I didn't say this bit.
It is hard to ding. Yeah. I've been lonely at stages of my life, really lonely, and that's as bad as I've ever felt. Apart from when I'm having to talk to you, James, it's not that hard. You can make notes, even in the depths. These are hugely important issues. Social isolation, especially in older adults, is associated with increased risk of hypertension, that's high blood pressure, other heart diseases, obesity, getting more infections, so like poor immune function, other psychiatric issues, the classics, anxiety and depression, visits to the accident and emergency department, or is that what it's called? What is it called, James? I live in the 1980s.
ED. Most places call it an emergency department now.
For A&E.
Accidents could be you scuffing your knee when you're walking down one of your 15 corridors on a gold back scratcher. So
when you bang your knee on your piano.
Yeah, exactly. That's different to an emergency.
And even it can lead to death.
Jerry, as always, I was just thinking about social isolation. You live in Germany now. You're pretty socially isolated, which I think is amazing. If we could contain you in that studio in your mansion and you never leave it, it means the talks that we're currently doing would just be me, and therefore everybody would enjoy them more.
As intended.
As intended. Anyway, what about ADHD and social isolation? Bollock Jops.
Be a little bit patient, please, Ronnie Corbett. So, the first key, nobody knows who Ronnie Corbett is, only those 3 core symptoms of ADHD: inattention, hyperactivity, impulsiveness, may, in some people, make social functioning and participation in social events even more difficult. James and Sam.
Is that a graphene thin dig at the fact that whenever I go to a social event, I usually end up, in a bad place? Rabbit ears.
Rabbit ears?
Yes.
Yeah. It's not. It's Sam, because no one ever invites you to social gathering, James. Especially since the whole, oh no, my belt was loose incident. Anyway, the next bit. I don't want to do the next bit because it's genuinely awful. I mean, you have to, and that's the contract.
No, just leave it out.
Not all studies agree. Most studies have shown that children with ADHD have fewer, James wrote less in the script, I thought you should know that. They have fewer mutual friendships. They're less well liked, and often ADHD children appear to be more rejected by their peers than children without ADHD.
I mean, that's awful. And I have said it before, Al, and I stand by this. Children are cunts.
Yeah, babies are worse.
You have said it before, James, but I've asked you not to, and we'll ask you not to say that again. Studies in adults with ADHD have shown that we can have more friendship problems and be lonelier than adults without ADHD. James, on this podcast, we're really grumpy bastards about ADHD. Yeah. People do say sometimes, can you focus on the positives? Can we just do an episode next time on how ADHD people are just better at eating ice cream?
I'm not.
No,
well, I think there you go.
Cold.
That's N equals 1. I'm just saying, if you can find any papers showing that people with ADHD are better at eating ice cream, because remember, this is meant to be evidence. But I do want to do an episode on strengths because there is some evidence. It's not great evidence, but there is some. But I don't think ice cream's in there, mate. Anyway.
Let's do a Christmas special where we only talk about the reasons we might not give up our ADHD. I mean, because we've got a career.
Can we all wear superhero costumes? I think that'd be for the YouTube fans. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to. That's a great idea.
You normally do.
So did you just laugh? Sound, but in a weird way.
Yeah, I did. I was thinking about I was just thinking about us doing a Christmas episode in a superhero outfit. And then I remembered when I worked on the aircraft and we were passengering. Well, we were taking a plane over with no passengers on. So I wrapped a blanket around my neck and pretended I was a superhero flying through the sky. And I was running up and down the aisles like that. And it made me laugh. Carry on.
We talked before about relationship issues, higher rates of separation, divorces, and remarriages in adults with ADHD. But even beyond that, ADHD is significantly associated with having fewer family members in your social network and a lower number of family members that you see weekly, higher level of emotional loneliness. If you want to bang numbers on it, the ASRS scale, which is that self-report scale for adults with ADHD, score of more or equal to 14 has been shown in some to be associated with loneliness, and ADHD symptom severity has been related to loneliness in a dose-response fashion. So that, which means mo ADHD symptoms, mo lone. No, I can't make a joke. That's awful. We are more lonely, and so the more symptoms you got, the worse you are for many things. How many symptoms were you positive for, James?
Oh, yeah. Well, we said this story before. Yes, it was 14. Should have been 16. Couldn't be asked to fill in 2 parts of the form because it's structurally ableist. Anyway, fuck off. Time for a break.
Just want to ask, wait, before you do, Sam, how many were you positive for? And I absolutely know that you've got no idea.
I've got no. How would I know that?
In your discharge letter, it says you were positive for.
It doesn't.
Something. Don't find it. Please don't find it now because it's going
now,
to take
I want to now. I can't let go of it now.
Oh,
during the break.
People just here.
We
what
are
I have
in the
to
break,
put up
aren't
with.
we?
We're not in the break. We're still going. Right, we're going to take a break.
Find it now.
We're going to take a break, and we'll be back in a bit.
Alex, hi. Aight. What's up? Hello, Governor. Jesus already. Will you be my valet?
Welcome back to episode 62 of the ADHD Adults podcast. Did it again. We're talking about the tricky, thorny subject of ADHD and loneliness, or social isolation. Part 2, as always, we reflect personally on the subject. Yeah, this isn't easy, this. Does anybody want to go first? James, shall I start with you?
Well, I mean, would it surprise you to hear that I have an issue with this, Al, when normally in this session, I have no personal reflections on the coexisting psychiatric, somatic or other issues associated with ADHD. Moi, lonely, isolated, having all the things. I can remember being a student nurse and deliberately choosing a flat on my own because I was developmentally delayed. I didn't really have a personality. I was afraid, but that led to a year of living in a flat on my own, not going out at all and being completely socially isolated. And then that drove, when I did find a friend, he doesn't listen, Tim, he was a big influence on my life, and we would go out to a club. People who I worked with on a ward, Al, would walk up to Tim and say, "Oh, hi, Tim, I've heard so much about you," and completely fucking deaf me and just walk past me because I would never. I was almost self-isolating, if you like. University. I went to university, and because I had no money, because I'd already done student nursing, and back then the local education authorities wouldn't pay for 2 things. I had to pay for myself, so I couldn't afford digs, lived with mum and dad. I didn't make any friends apart from one person with a significant psychiatric order who used to stand up and spin his umbrella around in lectures, and got my home phone number somehow and used to phone up all the time. This is when you had a home phone number, and I used to use my mum and dad to filter him out and say, "No, sorry," I nearly said his name, but James isn't here at the minute. Both of these now, I realise, are down to my neurodevelopmental delay. So I was, if you like, isolated because I didn't have the personality, the fully formed brain at that age to really deal with making friends, being around people, till I was about 27. That's when I kind of developed a personality, I guess. I avoided social. I really thought you'd do a gag then about having a personality. You've let me down there, Al.
I couldn't, James. I'm genuinely like I actually feel emotions, which isn't common.
No,
you fucking don't.
Yes, is that scary? Is it when you've got an emotion?
Yeah, I felt happy and amused. They're my emotions.
Anyway, this all led to me avoiding social events. I now know a lot of that is social phobia. That led to losing every single friend I had apart from one, Vince, who I haven't really spoke to in 2 years. He came around to see Robert from Kidderminster recently because he's known him. He was like a third son. And it was only when Mrs. ADHD came into our life that I started to make friends. And in fact, it was making those friends that led to my mental health crisis, because I believed so firmly that I was a useless, awful person that no one liked, that when people liked me, you start to question your whole identity. And that led to me obviously being very unhappy. I can be lonely in a crowd. Al, who's laughing at that, people aren't watching. I have been with Mrs. ADHD in a super club in Ibiza, sat there feeling like the loneliest person in the world because I can't dance, my back's sore, and everyone else is dancing around me, having a brilliant time on ecstasy, and I'm just sat there, maybe on ecstasy, not dancing and just feeling like the shittest person ever. If you look at all those big events, which people love, Christmas, birthdays, New Year's Eve, I've spent so many of those in the past, sat alone in my room, just, being completely shut off from the world, crying. In fact, I've been there, mate. I've got the scars. We'll move on to Mrs. ADHD next. Sam, what about you and loneliness or isolation?
Yeah, it is really difficult one, because I've never kind of technically been on my own a lot. I've always kind of been in a relationship, but I kind of there's lots of things about this. So one thing that I do is, because I'm not very good at keeping in touch with people, I then leave it too long, and then I'm too embarrassed to get in touch, and then before I realize it, I'm completely on my own. And then if I'm feeling so low that I want to kill myself, I can't reach out to anybody because I'm not in constant contact with somebody, and then I just feel so low that I just think, well, I might as well go.
That includes your husband. You can't reach out to your husband and say that, can you? But so many of us can't.
No, and that's and you said that you can feel lonely when you're with me, and it's the same when I'm with you or when I'm with other people. And I think part of that one for me is low self-esteem and not being able to communicate what I'd like to do, or that what we're doing I'm not enjoying. And so then I can be with loads of people, and because I've said, yeah, I'll go along and do that, I'd love to do that, but actually I don't, and everybody else is having fun, and I'm thinking, the fuck is wrong with me that everybody else is enjoying this and I'm just having a shit time and hating it. But when I look back at times as well, so say when I worked for Virgin twice. First time I worked for them, I was 19, and I was just so scared of everything. People think I'm really outgoing and social, and I'm really not. I'm scared of everyone and everything. And I just didn't go out. The number of times I'd get down route and just hide in my room because I was just too scared to go out and be with people. I was just so socially anxious. So then I went back to work for them again when I was splitting up with my ex-husband. And I thought this time I'll be different because I'm much older. And it really was. And I was still just hiding away in my room and hating myself for it. So it's just, yeah, it's a bit shit, isn't it?
Can I just tell people, and they often ask about you two, because for some reason it's not me people like, I don't know why. And they ask about both of you, and they always say a similar thing about both of you, which is they can't be mentally ill. They can't be like that, really, like they say, because they're so confident. People that know you in real life, Matt, my brother, I'm staying at his house right now. He couldn't believe, James, that you had any self-doubt whatsoever, because both of you
it's funny, isn't it?
So well.
Yeah, and in fact, sorry.
No, please.
When I was at the talk in Bristol, whenever that was, I was talking to a lovely woman, and she said, "Oh God, I expected you to be running up and interrupting when they were on stage, getting involved and being really." And I was like, "My God, no! I'm like, I've got crippling social anxiety, and yes, I can appear to be really confident, and on the podcast I might be really confident, but that's because I don't feel like we're doing a podcast. I feel like I'm just talking to my two mates." When we went to that place in Bristol, I was, well, because you were both there, I was terrified, and I was like, where am I going to stand? There's going to be so many people here, and I don't know what I'm going to do. And in the end, I've forgotten her name.
It doesn't matter.
I want to say Lily. It doesn't matter.
Oh, Lily, yeah.
Yeah, Lily. I was right then. She let me hide in the sound booth at the back with her because I just get so. I think we've gone off topic. I'm sorry.
We have. I just want to quickly, before we go back to Al to pick up on. I'm speaking to my two mates, and one of them is your husband.
That's beautiful.
But still, Alex.
And the other one doesn't like her.
Yeah. So what about? Look at her face. Just for anybody, obviously, to peek behind the curtain, I'm the monster, and Alex and Mrs. ADHD actually both love each other, and they both tell me the fact that they adore the other person. But
does Alex say that to you?
Yes,
about me.
They both think they hate each other, so they both have genuine kind of RSD that the other one hates them. It's so weird. Anyway, thank you for sharing that, Sam. Alex
tells me all the time he hates me. Sorry.
Alex,
She's
what about
gonna
your
hurt.
reflection?
Yeah, loneliness, and obviously I never have the things, do I? But I have
No.
had the things because I'm in a state of peaceful wildness, James, as you know.
Fuck off.
Um, joking aside, this has been a huge, massive issue for me for an awful lot of my life. As a child, I didn't have a lot of friends growing up at all because my real friends went to a different school. You don't know them.
I was going to say because of the implication, but anyway.
Yeah, also no, because of my personality. And as an adult, there have been two main areas where loneliness has been particularly bad, and one was when I was in the wrong relationship, and the other one was when I was in the right relationship. Unfortunately, we lived in different countries and couldn't easily meet up, and so the circumstances were a problem. And both of those times were absolutely fucking crippling.
Yeah.
I would say that when I was in the right relationship, which is with my lovely, lovely Lisa now, I knew there was hope, there was plans. But when I was in the wrong relationship, and there was nothing wrong with that person, she's a dear person to me, it just wasn't the right relationship. That was when it was so bad. I thought about, well, Sam, that beautiful spot at the top of Aston University you like so much, when I was there.
Oh, God.
It's lovely up there.
Oh, yeah, I've been up there. It's lovely.
Oh, absolutely. So I think it's because with my emotional reaction being inappropriate all the time because of the thing, my emotional reaction to feeling lonely is so strong, and I think that is probably partly due to ADHD. That's what I think.
I remember very viscerally you coming round when you were struggling being separated, from Lisa, and I having met Lisa, having seen you two together, knowing how much you were right for each other, it was just so difficult. That was the night that you and I stayed up all night when we had guests, and in the morning,
my friends,
yeah, and Sam wasn't very happy
not
that
a
we'd
story.
stayed up.
It's not a
I'm not
story
going
for
into
the
detail.
podcast,
I'm
no.
not going into detail. I'm just saying that I saw you. I saw how upset you were, and I didn't like it. I'm not a monster. It really hurt me. Anyway, time for the best game ever. It says in the script. Out. So you've got. I'm going to give you a couple of options as usual. You've got sleep or curtains.
Oh,
Is he saying curtains?
I think he
Mr.
is.
Claxton. The kid who went to
curtains.
curtain.
I think he's saying curtains, and I think I might know what this one is.
Okay, what's wrong with curtains?
Huh?
What do you call them? Curtains? What's
Curtains.
happening? Curtains.
I'll choose curtains, please, James.
Just because you want to hear me say it, don't you?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, Sam, remember, Sam, don't nod or shake your head or give him visual cues. I know it's difficult for you, but if you could either just
Shall I leave for this bit? Yeah,
or just look on your phone. Look on your phone for a bit. Look on your phone.
Send me a
text.
text.
Don't text him. Right, you've got three options as always. Now, we aren't very good at fitting curtains, and a friend of mine, Phil, fitted them when we moved into this house 7 years ago. And obviously, we've done fuck all to renovate or decorate the house in that time. So some of our curtains are falling down. Now, the ones in the bedroom were hanging off the bracket for about a year, and Sam, remember, and then luckily Sam's Mr. ADHD's dad, Jeddy, came down and fixed them. But now the curtains downstairs are doing the same. They're hanging off, and they are going to collapse and fall soon. So I knew I had to go and buy a batten, a board to screw the curtains in. You shouldn't really put them on plasterboard in new houses, but I didn't.
Thanks for that.
So, or it's not been fitted. So why is that? So is it that I've actually bought a batten already and cut it, but it's sitting in the garage and I can't find it? That's first option. So I've got a batten and I've cut it because Jeb was here at the time, and it's just sitting in the garage somewhere. Option two is when I went to Sainsbury's instead. And option number three is that I went to buy it and I forgot that our car was too small to fit the plank in.
Okay. Can you hear me?
I can, yeah. It's quite quiet, but I can, which is good because I don't like hearing you.
Something weird happened to my mic again.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good one. I don't think it's Sainsbury's because there isn't a Sainsbury's within 20 miles of where you live. There's only a Budgeons. I don't know what that is. Quick save. It's still a quick save. I
Hmm.
think that it's not the car's too small because your hair's so big you have to have a bigger car bought because
So
you
we
look
are
like
still
a double Jedward.
we are still going with the insult-based algorithm,
Yeah.
then, are we? Yeah.
So it's the first one. It's in the garage. The one I think that's what the one is.
Yeah, you're wrong. It's actually that I went to
Oh, look at your
Sainsbury's.
smug little face.
Yeah, I know. Smoke, as
No.
opposed to your devastated round face. Yeah, it isn't that I thought it was too big or too small. Oh, fuck all that. But it's a couple of dings there. I'd considered that beforehand, but I genuinely went to Sainsbury's and did a bit
I'm
of shopping.
fascinated,
And
James. It's so distracting listening to you and watching Sam. What I think is doing admin on a
yeah,
computer.
I know.
And people
And
watch this
she's
on the video. What's
she's so
doing?
focused on it. I don't think she's even listening to us or can hear. Can you hear us, Sam?
Hello?
Sorry, hang on.
What are you doing?
Well, you
Yeah,
told
anyway.
me to do something else while the game was on, so
Well,
I
the
was
game's
trying to log into my Psychiatry UK account to find out how many things I had.
You're back on those.
She's still back on the
I
Simpsons.
can't let go of it.
Oh God.
Anyway,
Alex,
was it that we've got curtains downstairs that we haven't put up?
no, well, no, we
I
have
saw
got
them
curtains. That's another future game you've just ruined, Sam. But it was something to do. It was to do with the board. The fact that we haven't even bought the board, and that's because I went to Sainsbury's instead of B&Q. Anyway, you got it wrong.
Away from your house.
Oh Christ. Coincidentally, we're advertising for a new host because I'm not going to be here soon. So anybody that thinks they can put up with these two, just send us a message. We're going to take a break. I'm going to scream. See you in a bit. Trumpet.
One.
You have to do that, don't you? Anyway, welcome back to part 3 of episode 62 of the ADHD Adults, where we're talking about loneliness and isolation, and my mental health is deteriorating by the second. Alex, do you want to go first with some of your top tips, which are usually good, and you are very lonely, so far away.
Really not, and we know that. Thank you. I do. You know, I can talk to you. We'll talk about top tips, evidence-based things, but I have to say the first thing we should all say is that cognitive behavior therapy and other types of therapy might be something that if you're feeling loneliness and if it's, I wouldn't hesitate for that. Go and see your GP if you're socially isolated or lonely. It's a really important, for the reasons we did in the really serious psychoed bit, it's really important and it's so vital that you get help if you need it. That's the first top tip is this is one for professional support in many cases. If you can't do that, or because sometimes, as Sam said, really acutely, if you are lonely, it's hard to get help. So try and find a time when you are feeling a little bit positive or hopeful and take some time to self-analyze. And in that, you'll be asking yourself, you can go on Google and find questions to ask yourself. Is this something you can do something about, really? Or elements of it? It might not be. And then you're left with James's kids. But be really honest, super honest. Is this something you can change or elements of it? Are the consequences of making those changes acceptable to you? And if they are, start changing them. Tiny bit, a little bit of hope. Unbelievably helpful for humans. For objective social isolation, again, this is a case of doing a really small thing first, especially if you have ADHD, because it would get friends isn't a helpful action. You know, do one small things, maybe
or even possible for you.
Yeah, exactly. So piggyback onto something that you like, something in a social situation, like learning something rewarding. I really wanted to learn stand-up, so I went to a class to be taught how to do it. That's why I'm so. I know. I don't know why I tee myself up.
For
what
the people
that
went well. She
what
said.
Did she say?
She said that went well.
Went well.
For the people that came to Bristol and watched us, a bit like Sam's £400 painting course. You can see that was clearly time well spent, Al.
Except it was time spent with people, and so I wasn't objectively in social isolation. I was a single dad living on my own. I was lonely, and it was a really great way to. It wasn't about me making friends; it was about me learning a thing I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so And the same with Sam's painting. It was a success because she was out in the world and not at home with you and me.
Ironically, if you
finally
also
be
just
together,
ironically, if you also just piggybacked and carried someone on your back, you'd be meeting people. So
you would,
it's a double whammy of a tip there. Sam, what about you? Have you got any top tips for people who may be isolated or lonely?
So things that have worked for me in the past. This is the only thing I can do. I haven't got any evidence-based shit. But when I've been good, and I can't do this when I'm not in a good place, because I just hide away and become a hermit and can't reach out to anybody. But when I've been in a good place, one thing I used to do.
I've lost both of you too.
Oh, I can hear you.
Okay, let's just start from Sam. It all froze. Should we start with okay? So start with your tip, Sam. So
yeah, so tips, things that I've done in the past that have helped me before, that I can only do when I'm in a good place. If I'm in a bad place, I'm isolated anyway. I'm not going to reach out to anybody. But when I've been in a good place, I used to set reminders in my calendar. They're not working so good for me nowadays, but they were then, to message my friends regularly and check in on them, and then that would make sure that they checked in on me as well, and it was all good. Also, when I'm in a good place and I can act really confident, like you were talking about before, Al, that people don't realize. So I remember when I met my ex-husband and moved down to Kent and started working and didn't know anybody there, I would act really confident. I remember going into work and saying, "Hi, I've got no friends. Can somebody take me out?" I literally just said that, and then built this network of friends just by being really confident, but at the same time vulnerable, and saying, "I haven't got any friends here. I've just moved. Can you be my friend?" And I built some friends, so that was really good. But CBT, like you said,
in the eyes.
It worked fucking me. These are facts. Facts. They're not.
Did you
facts.
say it worked fucking you? Ding.
It worked for fucking me. I don't even
so,
know.
People use that approach for fucking you, did they? Why did I didn't anyway.
No, they didn't even need any preamble for that.
No, Jesus, no, exactly.
Such a slag.
Exactly.
CBT really worked for me. And something else that I wanted to say. What was it?
Oh, write these thoughts down.
Yeah, just take 5 minutes to think about it. Okay, fine.
Can I just add, James? I have to add this. That Sam, that is an amazing tip. The one about putting in your diary to message your friend. What I said about making friends not being an action that you can achieve is true, but what you've done is given people literally a perfect specific example of an action that they can do to achieve that.
But they're easy to ignore those reminders.
Don't diminish it. Don't diminish it. That's the first time he's actually given you credit on this podcast for coming up with something that's of value. So you just accept it, mate.
From Mrs. ADHD, everybody.
Okay. Can I go now?
Yes,
please, James. What's your top absolutely shit skunk trump?
Absolutely shit. What I would say is that obviously reaching out is difficult, and one of the things that we've heard from the talks that mostly I've been doing, that Alex shoehorned himself into at Bristol, is that a lot of people have said afterwards that it was amazing to be in a room full of people like them. It was amazing to be around people who have ADHD that fundamentally at a fucking cellular level understand them. And there are communities out there. They might not all be in the same room, but they will be virtually. And I'm going to shamelessly plug our Discord community, which now has over 1,000 people in it. A lot of people have said they finally found a place they feel safe. They finally found a place that when they say, "I did this today," people will laugh and say, "Oh, I do that as well." And they make connections and they feel normal. And the funny thing about social isolation, as somebody that's worked in this area in older adults in the past, is you don't have to have people with you in the room to fight social isolation. Actually, if you're speaking to somebody on Discord, on WhatsApp, through email, on a Facebook community group, you will feel emotionally connected to them. So even if you are physically lonely or isolated, you don't have to be socially isolated. There are thousands of people in our community. There are other shitter ADHD communities. But even if it's online, there are going to be people out there who feel like you. And you will find, will probably like you. They don't like me. But, I'll be your friend. I'll be a shit one that never texts. But,
they're Discord community members now, haven't we? And we got on like a house of fun. We knew each other a bit, and it felt like we were already friends. Hello, Jess, for example.
Yeah. So that leads us nicely into the product recommendation of the week, which is our Discord channel. You can find it on a link on our social media. It is a shameless self-plug, but the overwhelmingly positive support that I heard until I stopped going on there 3 weeks ago was incredible, because people have genuinely found their home, and I imagine they still have, but I don't go on there. So I know Alex does, and Sam does religiously instead of talking to me. So people generally tend to love this community, and it's there for you. So join it, start talking to people, and believe me, you will find your tribe. Right, thank fuck that's over. That was episode 62 of the ADHD Adults podcast, where we talked about loneliness and isolation in ADHD. If in the rare possible chance that any of this was useful, again, as a charity, we need funds to try and keep doing what we're doing, because otherwise Alex is going to have to busk for money by swinging from the Trafalgar Square Christmas tree as a novelty bauble. Get in touch either on Discord, the socials. Till next time, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye all.
Trigger warning, klaxon, 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 big klaxon. Trigger warning, klaxon, 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 klaxon. Trigger warning, klaxon, klaxon.